All right, welcome to another segment of Good Vibes. I'm Martin Falls, joined by the lovely Debbie Cox DeNova. Debbie, good to have you back.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
All right, so here we go. What a topic. All men. Listen, okay? Bringing out the best in women.
Bringing out the best in women.
Wow.
A topic that benefits both men and women.
Sure it does. All right, you have the floor. I can't wait to hear this.
We have touched on this topic a number of different times. We're talking about helping women, essentially, to feel safe. So if a man wants to bring out the best in a woman, then essentially what he's doing is helping her, not making her, because no one can make her feel safe, but helping her to feel safe. This goes both ways, by the way. If you think about it, we as human beings, we're always scanning for threats, right? Because the brain is designed to help us to survive. So anything that is a perceived threat brings out the worst in us. It makes us agitated. Whereas when we feel safe as both men and women, we show up as our best selves. Now, the things that make men feel safe are different from what make women feel safe, right? We operate differently. You guys are much more mental than we are. We are in our bodies and our feelings, right? And so it's important to make the distinction that we're not talking about actual safety, because when we talk to men about safety, you guys typically think, okay, well, you analyze and scan the data, and they're like, well, you are safe, right? I do provide safety. I know how to fight if it's needed. I provide the best locks on the doors, right? You're safe. It's perceived safety. And from a female's perspective, what that means is that on a primal level, we are reacting to things that may not appear to be threats from a man's perspective, and even from a woman's perspective when we're consciously thinking about it. We have to think about this as primal, right? So for a man, for example, if your respect is threatened, like if you are getting a loss of respect or your fear of failing at something, that actually threatens your survival. Because if you think about it from a hunting perspective, you know, how many times can I fail before I stop being invited on these hunts that I rely upon?
Or before I starve.
Exactly, exactly. So from a female's perspective, even we're physically the weaker gender, right? So we have threats, physical, environmental threats that you guys don't ever think about, right? It's different for us walking through a parking lot or getting into our car. We're always scanning for threats. But it's both physical and emotional threats, and it's also, again, perceived threats. So we've used this example before. A man is driving along, he's speeding really quickly. And this is important to note. Men and women have different, like visually, we're very different. The faster you go, you guys are really good at tracking. For women, we're not as good at tracking. The faster we go, it starts to get a little agitated, like, okay, we'll slow down a little bit, right? We're better at scanning and finding things, which is why, you know, honey, where did I put, you know, whatever, I lost a sock.
Right.
It's by the hamper next to that, because we're scanning on a primal level, we're scanning our meadow to make sure everything is in its place. So things all over the floor actually agitate us, because if you think about it from a primal level, how are we going to take our children and run from a threat if there are obstacles all over the floor?
But you're better at unorganized chaos than men are.
We are, yes.
Okay.
And you guys are very singly focused as men. So you find one thing and you focus on it to create an outcome. Whereas for dating expert Allison Armstrong calls ours, the rise in estrogen in women creates a diffuse awareness, which keeps us connected to a bunch of things. We can watch out for the children and look out for the bear and, you know, all of these things. But here's the problem, is that what gets our attention is not what's priority. It's like what's screaming the loudest, what is the most clutter, right? And so for women, that can be quite a chaotic experience, and it can keep her stress levels very high. And when it comes to a woman relaxing, feeling her best, feeling sexual attraction and desire, this is a point that a lot of men may not understand, right? She says, I'm tired, and he goes, cool, I'll do the dishes and take care of the kids, go to sleep. And then she doesn't go to sleep. Instead, she like cleans up the living room and she, you know, reads a book, and so it's a frustration point for him. But what he doesn't understand is that the environment is almost dictating to a woman. So it's very difficult for her to actually get to the point of relaxation when there are things scattered all over the floor.
She has unfinished business.
She has unfinished business. We're designed to scan our environment, to look for threats, to eliminate those threats. You know, if something's out of place, it's kind of like, who moved that? right? From a primal level. Who moved out? Was it a bear? Is it a predator? Do I have to worry about it, right? So for us, it would be, for men to understand that, they can actually then, okay, well, if it's the living room that's causing agitation in her, I'll take care of the living room, actually going to sleep and understanding that. And also understanding that it's perception. And so it may not make any sense from a psychological standpoint, that you're not threatened. How many accidents have I gotten into, right? You look at his record and it's completely clean. So why is she agitated? Because from a primal level, again, it's a threat, a physical threat to her safety. You're yelling at the computer, cursing at the computer because it's not working. You've never laid a hand on her. She's physically safe, but from a primal level, she's reacting with agitation because, again, the physically weaker, the sound of a booming voice from a man is a threatening thing on a primal level. So she may react, and there may be an argument over that in and of itself.
So when a woman's multitasking, let her multitask.
Yes, understand why she's multitasking.
Step out the way.
Right, and if you want some bedroom time, then it may be helpful to understand that she may need to understand what's screaming at her attention from the environment to help her to eliminate that distraction, so she can come into a safe place. Because once she feels safe, then she can come into arousal.
Here's the key to that. We're going to talk about it in the second segment, but I'm going to tease the audience in the first segment. How the hell do we figure out what's wrong with her when she's multitasking and we're trying to figure out, we're asking the question and she's still multitasking, but we're trying to get the question answered so we could have peace in the valley.
Yeah.
So you were talking about women multitasking, and it's true. You could be watching a football game and the woman's picking up stuff, cooking, doing this, doing that, jumping over your feet, going to another task, and then all of a sudden she gets irritated. And for the life of the man, they don't know what they did wrong. They're just sitting there with the clicker in their hand.
Yes.
What went wrong?
Yeah, so and it depends on the woman, right? A lot of times women are experiencing agitation because from her perspective, that feeling of threat is very, very acute. This living room is a mess. How can you relax and watch TV when there's all of this mess around? The children are screaming. It's very, very much in her face. So a lot of men, Alison Armstrong will say, okay, so that means that men are singly focused and women are multi-focused, right? And she says, no. It's not even that women are multi-focused. It's like, imagine not being able to focus on one thing. Imagine the thing that gets your attention is the thing that is the loudest, that is the most chaotic, right? And for women, we're designed that way to kind of continue to take in our full environment. And so what happens then, of course, is that when there are a lot of duties on our shoulders at home, it becomes very difficult for us to relax. And we perceive the relaxation of a man and the children, as being super unhelpful and also very, very emotionally isolated from what she's experiencing. So this goes back to when we're talking about safety, it's not just about physical safety, it's about emotional safety as well. You want to imagine for a woman, being this flies in the face of some people who have feministic views of women we're built differently. We really are built differently regardless of whether or not you feel like you can do everything. And for a woman to completely be in her best self, she has to feel vulnerable. She has to be able to let her guard down and take an exhale and go, right? So when she's with a man, and this is why women actually look for signs of strength in a man, and it's not just physical strength. Physical strength, yes, but anything like status, position, money, there are different types of strength that women look for that are super sexy to her. And among the top, and this goes across any man of any size, any stature, any age can have this type of strength, is integrity, okay? Integrity is like, I say what I do, I do what I say, and I say what I do, right? And so she can count on him, having full transparency, but also leaning in and being present and understanding who she is and what's important to her. Because unfortunately, most women do not tell men what they need, which you should definitely be telling men what you need.
So if you tell your woman you're going to pick the kids up at 3:30 at school,
pick the kids up
at
your
3:30 at school.
Yeah, and if for
Okay.
some reason you can't communicate, that's very important too, right? If you prefer not to go to a party, with her friends because it's just something that you don't like, it's better to be honest about that than to make something up. Because if she perceives at any point in time that you're saying one thing and the truth is another thing, trust goes away. And for a woman to be completely in her feel safe, she must feel trust. So integrity is a huge one. Being honest, transparent, leaning in, and understanding that like she needs your attention in order to raise her estrogen. And raising estrogen is a stress reduction.
Let me ask you this. We got about 2.5 minutes left, but in all the conversations I've ever had with my buddies, whether it was me or them, they got in a squabble in their relationship.
Yeah.
There's always the fallback, hour-wise, they always say 72 hours. Is it really 72 hours, or is that just what we've been programmed to say? 'Cause sometimes it takes a while to get somebody back
Yeah.
in motion.
Well, I can tell you some things to help you shorten that 72 hours. At the end of the day, a woman wants to feel validated. So even though it's into her even, sometimes it doesn't make any sense why she's upset, right? And so, which is why it's super sexy for a man to be able to weather her storms and not be rocked off. A lot of men will lose, they'll actually lose their temper because it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why are you upset about that, right? And what the man doesn't understand is between invalidating how she feels in that way or interrupting her, which is really bad, and telling her why she's wrong, that is a cancellation of her experience, right? So the best thing that you can do is, first of all, be an active listener to what she's saying. So open up space for her to speak. Now, again, reminder, it's directly connected to her ability to get turned on and attracted and have desire. There was a 2010 analysis by a psychologist named Dr. Catherine Hall, and she found that while men associate sex with intimacy and getting close, women actually see sex and desire as a consequence of emotional connection. So once she feels emotionally connected to, once she feels understood and seen and validated, she is much more likely to want to be sexually intimate with someone, especially if you're creating a safe space for her to have her emotional storms, even the ones that she doesn't understand herself, and not get rocked. Like, I really want to understand why you're upset, right? And then to be able to apologize for if he was part of the process of her coming to a feeling of being disrespected or unloved, being able to apologize for his part in that, and women, for you to apologize whenever you have accidentally stepped into disrespect, to understand these are threats to survival at the end of the day. Having those communications and being able to do it quickly, that'll shorten that 72 hours.
And just in closing, a couple of words we ought to just drop from the vocabulary. Whatever is one of them.
So bad. It's such an invalidation.
Yeah, when somebody goes, whatever,
Right.
that's just basically a curse word.
Yeah, it's contempt. It's actually like a dismissal, right?
That's right. All right, great topic.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right, next week, bringing out the best in men.
Yes.
We'll see it from y'all side. All right, we'll be right back.